morning, everyone. So today it's Tuesday. Tuesday what? Where are you? Here. 17th of January, 5 tasting. Today is going to be busy day. So I start at 9 a.m. with Kaapzicht Wine Estate. Then after I will go to Saxenburg. Then Jordan Wine Estates, DeMorgenzon and Mulderbosch. Yes, it's me.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce Kaapzicht. Correct?
Kaapzicht.
Kaapzicht.
Yeah. Zicht is Afrikaans for view. It's more like Flemish. Flemish, Dutch. And they've become, some of them famous. Donovan Rowell, for example, with Arlight, Chris Arlight and so on. Some of them have won their trophies and become famous with wines and grapes they got from us. So we allowed him to, within your range that we have to continue with to get our bread and butter, you are welcome to make an artisanal wine. So he took our old Cinsault, there's Cinsault up here, Bushwine Cinsault, and he made a wine from it which got 5 stars now in November, but it's completely sold out. And he made wine with this, it's got 2 times 5 stars already with this old Chenin, and the Cinsault and this old Chenin on that side. Is that artisanal label, you see, slightly different, wooded, experimental, etc. And of this we still have a little bit of this. The Cinsault is completely gone. So it's allowing him to experiment and to try and keep him happy. And I think now he sees that it's actually an advantage to have big. It's hard to believe, but we got the Decanter International Trophy for best single red varietal wine in the world of whatever. I think in those years there were 11,000 entrants.
Je viens juste d'arriver à Saxenburg Winery.
As a family farm, I think the best when you have directly the family involved. It's our children, Fiona who does the international sales, and Vincent who lives here, who manages the farm. We have a fantastic team. About 30 years ago we did more the very powerful wines, more for Robert Parker or whatever. The philosophy, the best is really to say with the 3 guinea fowls, the logo, we want to have the heart and the brain and the soul in the wine. That is what is good for us.
Just arrived at Jordan Winery for the third tasting of today. Will be 2 more to go after that. That's really cool.
Jordan is situated in this bowl of hills. So this is our border here. So this new piece of land belongs to us at Lying Fallow. We bought that a couple of years ago, and then it goes around into this bowl of hills. DeMorgenzon borders where these plane trees go all the way up to the top there. We plant all our white varieties on this side. So DeMorgenzon means the morning sun. So we plant all our white varieties on this side just because we want that beautiful cool morning sun, and we don't want the grapes to have all the harsh afternoon.
I just arrived at the DeMorgenzon Stellenboch Winery. is the 4th tasting for today. One more to go.
Maybe we'll just continue in English for the sake of...
You don't want to practice your French?
Un peu.
Un petit peu? Okay.
Channel 2016. Et puis le Chardonnay 2015.
Merci.
Yeah. So DeMorgenzon, you may know, is Dutch for the morning sun. So established in 1699. Of course, and all of this part Jordan Duval was part of Uitewijk, the outer ward of Stellenboch. And we are the first part of this valley to get the sun in the morning. Southeast facing slopes. And we go from about 200 to 400 meters above sea level. And in the afternoon we definitely benefit from this cooling ocean breeze. Yes. And then decomposed granite and sandstone.
So just to give you a bit of a background as to how the brand works, DeMorgenzon is our reserve wines, and there we focus on Chenin Blanc and Chardonnay and one red wine, a Syrah. But the main focus for me is really on to make sure our reserve wines have depth in terms of supply. So we've been very busy with the new planting program, making sure that we have enough vineyards to sustain us going forward into the future. So I think that's just a little bit of a background on the brand. The property is owned by Wendy and Hilton Applebaum since 2004 was when they first bought the property.
What I understand is that it's one of origin of Stellenbosch, but opposite the hill is also one of origin of Stellenbosch.
Yeah.
So it's very wide.
Stellenbosch is yeah. Well, there are wards within Stellenbosch, so this would classify as the Bottleray Hills.
So this is
Bottleray Hills, and there is an application in to try and classify this area as a ward, or the Stellenbosch Kloof at least, which is this particular, it's Jordan, Stellenbosch and our two neighbours. But one of the properties, and I won't mention which one, has a certain amount of his land in the Stellenbosch Kloof and a certain amount of his land outside the Stellenbosch Kloof. And he doesn't want the classification because it would exclude him effectively. And he's quite an important player, so that's kind of put that whole process on hold. So
because it doesn't make sense to have only the appellation of Stellenbosch when we see the huge difference between each winery and even topography and your soil as well.
No, sure, it's a very valid point you make, and it's something that's been very widely debated. I think generally the feeling is South African wines have a lot of inroads to make abroad still, just in terms of brand South Africa, and Stellenbosch is the most recognized region within South Africa, and the Swartland probably second to that, with all their activity over the last couple of years. So for now it makes almost more of a sense to make sure that the Stellenbosch wines are properly branded, and then to have a strategy around branding the smaller appellations. And they are, Helderberg is a ward, Simonsberg is a ward, all within Stellenbosch. Then you have, I think, the Bottleray Hills. And we decided to not classify ourselves as Bottleray Hills because it's too wide for us in terms of, there's certain properties in the Bottleray Hills that we would prefer to not be associated with. Stellenbosch is a safer kind of classification.
La musique dans les vignes.
Oui. Dans les vignes, dans le camp. This is Syrah, Shiraz.
It's almost depressing, no? Why they don't put some rock and roll? AC/DC.
No.
They should put AC/DC music.
Yeah, there's some. Let's go. No. Rock music actually kills plants.
You kidding?
There's one fascinating study.
What do you see?
Sorry. One fascinating study. Led Zeppelin, Vanilla Fudge, and Jimi Hendrix actually kills the plants. It has to do the sound waves and the vibrations of the style of music. So this is a lot more modulated, a lot more
so it has been studied about it.
Yes. So we actually had this block with the music, another block without. For that music that grows slow at a much more leisurely pace, of course. And then more even ripeness in terms of phenolic ripeness and everything. Differently.
Nous voici donc à la dernière dégustation de la journée, 5e domaine qui s'appelle Mulderbosch. What does that mean, Mulderbosch?
It's actually the name of the owner. His name was Larry Mulder. But in Afrikaans or Dutch, a Mulder is a miller. A moulin.
A moulin.
Yeah. A bosch is just a hamlet.
Hamlet.
A hamlet, you know, like a little village, a bosch.
Ah, we see Bosch everywhere. All your wines are on the appellation wine origin of Stellenboch?
No.
No. You have a bit of vineyards everywhere?
Yes.
Ah.
So we have our own vineyards. We have 45 hectares under vine at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But we produce wine from about a 600 hectare area.
I need your honest opinion on the blend with Viognier. What I have learned, because I'm from Rhone Valley.
Okay.
So
that was my next question.
I'm from Rhone Valley. So when I went to Côte-Rôtie, I did ask Stephanie and all these people about the Viognier things. What I've learned from school is that the vineyard being all mixed up, very messy, they allowed up to 20% of Viognier because it was difficult to sort out. Then I went to Australia, Yarra Valley, where they love put Viognier into their Syrah, but they call it Syrah over there. And the winemaker told me that is to fix the color into the wine, which I didn't believe because I know that Syrah is already so powerful in terms of color. We use it to Hermitage de Bordeaux wine. Mm-hmm. The second reason why to bring acidity, but I didn't believe it neither because Viognier has got no acidity. So what is your point of view?
It's a textural combination.
Texture.
There is an element of that stability. It's not necessarily to increase it doesn't increase the color, but it stabilizes the color.
Stabilized.
Understanding of Viognier is that it's a little bit like when you add salt to a meal. It has a very powerful effect on the flavor of the wine. And we ferment it on the skins, so there is an extraction of those tannins from the Viognier skins, and that's a very phenolic grape variety.
How was I heard a lot about 2015, 2016, 2016 being a difficult vintage because of the dort, how do you say in English?
La sécheresse.
La sécheresse, voilà. I heard about 2015 being a fantastic vintage.
Yes.
What about 2014?
I am very, very fond of 2014 for the simple reason that it was a vintage with an overproduction, slightly higher yield than normal, and there was a natural dilution of concentration. So for me there were two benefits in 2014.
Natural concentration? Or
dilution.
Oh yeah.
So I think that we have too much of an obsession with concentration. Way too much interest. Why do you want these concentrated wines? We forget that wine is about enjoyment and it should be balanced. So 2014 represents a very naturally balanced style of wine that I like to drink personally and that I think a lot of consumers like to drink. So I think 2014 is underrated. It hasn't been recognized. And Cinsault is very well suited to our climate. It grows well. It bears good crop, and farmers have made their living for many years with this grape variety, but it's not fashionable. And if you look back in the records of the 60s and 70s, maybe towards the late 50s, I'm not sure, but there was Cabernet Sauvignon produced. More Cabernet Sauvignon was bottled than we had grapes. And the laws in those days for the label laws were very relaxed. You only needed 25% of a variety in order to label it as such. So wines that were labeled as Cabernet Sauvignon contained more Cinsault than Cabernet Sauvignon in the 1960s and 70s. And today we drink those wines and we celebrate those wines because they are some of the most beautiful old red wines that I've ever had from anywhere in the world. And they are just a great example of how this humble Cinsault is a very important part of our story, our wine story in South Africa.